The I is love, the am is the expression of it, whether positive or negative. Okay? So there's the I am.
You're on the air, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay?
Tell them all we said hi.
Hello.
Hola.
No, I'm not, but hello anyway. The I is the know. The am is the application of it. The I will always desire the why and what I am.
What I am, yes. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
good. Because it shows the contrast.
Yes.
It
Yes.
shows the Spirit possessing all, but yet not possessing
Right.
all.
Yeah.
It needs that expression
It
to
has-
catch it.
yes.
It has to
It
have
has to have it.
It stays incomplete without it.
Right. It's not whole without it.
It's
Exactly
not
right.
whole without it.
Yep. The I, the real me, the I, God said, I am, or I am that I am. Well, what are you? I am what?
Yeah.
I am whatever I want to
I
be.
am who? I am what?
I am what? Yeah. I
Yeah.
am the expression of who I am, of I.
Yeah.
Am is the expression of I.
Yeah. And the I is you in spirit form, in individual
Yes.
spirit
Yes.
form, yet the am part is the application
Yes.
of that in your
Yes.
life.
Yep.
And that, which is lengthy, defines who you are,
Yeah.
defines out what kind of nature you have, what kind of character you have, all
Right.
that is defined
Yeah.
for it.
The nature, the soul is the nature of the spirit. So if you apply the soul as the am
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit as the I, your nature is what is evolving and taking it back to the I.
Yes.
So in that sense, when you're talking about the I learning, yes, the I is learning and evolving because it's evolving off of what the soul has learned.
It's learning how its nature feels
Yes, yes,
about itself.
yes.
Because the I with the knowledge is there, but the nature has to be lived through so that it understands the I.
Yes. It answers the question why.
Yes. Yes. I like that.
I am that I am. And the why am I? Because I have to evolve.
Yes.
It answers the question why.
Yes.
In case, we got to a long discussion on Messenger today. So that's what we were talking about, some of our discussion. Don has it all printed out.
Very nice. Very nice discussion.
And what was good about it wasn't right, wrong, good, bad. It was an expression. We were just talking. We were just talking, throwing out points, throwing out ideas. What about this? What about that?
Uh-huh.
Don has autism. What about that? Don does not have autism, just so you know. I was just joking. For those of you ready.
I keep talking for a minute. Sorry, I got to put my microphones in. I thought that they were ready to go and the batteries are both dead. So you guys keep your
Yeah, love is an absolute, but it's absolutely not complete.
Well, yeah. It's not fulfilled.
Not
It's
fulfilled,
not complete.
yes, yes.
Now, love is an absolute, but understand that love has both within it negative and positive energies. And the hundreds upon thousands of mixtures of gray in between there.
And it has to be expressed.
And it has to be expressed. So your nature has to live for you to understand the am part of I am. It has to be expressed.
Yep. Coffee's ready.
Ooh.
keep talking. I'm getting there.
See, there it is. It did
This
it again.
thing just quit on me. I
See,
had
I'm
them.
not the only one that do that. It's just
Well, you know what?
one.
Because I'm using my right thumb.
Well, I use my right thumb too.
And when I use my right thumb, it does the wrong thing. And that just ain't right no more.
So your thumb still knows right and wrong?
Yeah, and it's trying to tell me use your left thumb.
I want to do this and I go like that. It's like, wait
And I
a
didn't
minute.
even notice it. She
Oh,
hadn't said
okay,
anything.
well,
I
that's good,
I
that's good.
hadn't noticed she put a thumb down on something I said. I didn't notice. I just saw a thumb. If she hadn't said anything, I'd have never known.
I don't even know.
I seen it, but I just thought, well, she hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I did.
She's
And it thinks
condemning me to
so.
death. Couldn't give me a thumbs down.
Oh, no, I don't mean to.
Okay. It is Friday evening, and you can tell it. Brother Allen came, and he brought the rain. He brought
I brought pizza.
pizza.
It's in rain.
And right now, I'm trying to get these microphones set up where I can hear you.
The I is the spirit with all its knowledge. The am is the development of the spirit's nature, expressed through the lives of individuals. This is how the spirit evolves. Fairly accurate. I mean, it's
Yeah.
open for discussion, but
Right.
generally we got it in the ballpark anyway, you know.
And then I changed it because I think of that one. I said, "Well, I is the knowledge."
At that one, the I will, let's see, you had it listed as,
Because earlier in the conversation, I was thinking I was tying I in with knowledge, and am in with I don't remember what else it
The
was.
connection
Yeah.
to
Okay. Yeah.
experience.
yeah.
But then as we talk, I evolved it to I being the
I
the
can
know.
see that as you started
Yeah.
writing, I thought he's evolving
Yeah.
in his thinking as he's writing.
Right.
I actually thought about the I is the negative and the am is the positive.
There's,
Yeah.
there's
Instead
another,
of being
there's
yes.
another way to look
Yes.
at it. Yeah.
When you put I am together, you come out with a beautiful
The
color.
contrast of, yes, there's another
So that-
very good definition.
That's a good way of saying a male is a negative and a female is a positive.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
I've always believed that.
Yeah.
A lot of people had it the other way around.
Yeah.
I've always believed that the mind was the male
Yes,
and the heart was
is the female.
I've seen it for years. And every time you mention it, people just look at you like, you know, you're kind of
Yeah.
square or
Yeah.
whatever. And,
Because the mind is more for correction and the heart is more about nourishing.
yeah. And the mind is where every seed comes from.
Yes.
You know, there ain't some spirits out here flying around here dropping seeds into my mind.
No.
I'm creating. I
Yes.
am a creator, and I
Yes.
create seeds by the millions every day. And then, as a male attribute, I send those seeds to the heart, and the heart is a female lady who has been ordained to have the discernment and understanding to turn that seed away and don't let it
Mhm.
manifest, or to take that seed in and have that baby.
Yeah.
Right.
The woman, actually, when you look at it the right way, I understand why Moses said the man, is to leave his father and mother and cleave to the wife. The wife actually, in practical application, has a greater power and manifestation than the male does.
Yes. Because he can institute life, but she's the only one that can bring it forth.
That's right.
And I think that was done on purpose for that reason, so that later on, we would come around to that.
Well, I wrote down, and our conversation that we're talking about, I wrote down, there were a couple of things that people wrote in on the announcement for tonight. And
Well, good.
Good.
I thought I would read those first,
Yes.
and then we'll go right into this long conversation we had today, which had a lot of the same things in it. But I thought I'd read this and kind of see how we go from there. Brother Howard Singer, who is with Pastor Mitta in New Zealand, Mitta Thomas Peora Edwardson. It's one of the few men I know of that has 4 names and lives up to all 4 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great man of God. Great man of the Spirit.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, Howard Singer, he said blessings. My comment and thoughts that I'd like to share is that the greatest desire for all is the desire to feel and to be connected. Came from, which is the Spirit. So he's saying inside the Spirit was feelings and acceptance and appreciation, and the desire was to get that out. Where we all came from, which is the Spirit. So when we began this form of humanity, this cycle of connection and then disconnection, e.g. umbilical cord, so you're cutting off the things that were before to bring the things that are, and the disconnection of the umbilical cord is cut, we then for a moment we become disoriented. And I can see what he's saying here. We have all these things inside us before we ever step foot into humanity. Then we came into humanity and we began to live out all these feelings and connections and acceptance and appreciation and all the contrasts and everything else. And we cut the cord of theophany or disconnection of the umbilical cord, and for a moment we become disoriented. This is the way it is each time. Like if you go through the church ages, if you go through life, if you go through cycles, it's that way every time. When you cut that umbilical cord of what you used to live on and you're not living on it anymore, you get disoriented. And you seek to be connected. You knew what it felt like to be connected to something, and all of a sudden you're in this chaos, disorientation for a little while. And you seek to be connected, but evolving to a deeper level. You don't want to go back to the same thing. You want to go deeper. This is the greatest desire. You want to go deeper in life. But all this in this life that offers us comfort, including religion, are supposed to be only a substitute for us. Many of us don't know how to drop the substitute. There is something more deeper than church, more deeper than practice, and all the humans are longing for it. Does this make sense?
Wow, that's pretty good. Makes a lot of sense.
I wrote him something back, but just thinking about what he's saying, that's the very longing of everyone. Some people get caught in the chaos and don't know how to get out of it. Some people cut from the umbilical cord, and like Egypt or like Israel, I want to go back. I want to go back. I felt safer. I felt more secure. There, I felt, on and on and on, instead of moving on forward until you find your promised land. They don't know what to do. So, but then he says, all of this evolving, we must evolve into a deeper level that removes religion, because everything that we touch until we come to that promised land or that place where we need to be to feel secure and connected again, till we come to that point, the only way we're going to get to that point is to do away with all of our substitutes. Now, you know what a substitute is. A substitute is something that you're placing all of your hope and everything in until the real thing comes. And then you're supposed to take hold of the real thing. Now, Moses gave them a substitute. It was the law. It was meal cakes. It was bullocks. It was lambs. It was sacrifices. It was yearly sacrifices. Moses gave them all these substitutes for them to feel better about themselves. But that's all it all was substitutes. And then Christ came and he finished it up on Calvary, but the whole world took Christ, took Jesus on Calvary, and just made it another substitute. Instead of pulling back from all substitutes and recognizing where the real thing is, and the real thing is in you. they look to something else outside of them, and they set this substitute up, a cross, and they said a man called Jesus and a son of God, and all these things, and now the substitute has become mediation, conciliation, propitiation, blood, on and on and on, and we put these substitutes in. And what Brother Howard is saying is somewhere along the line, humanity has got to grow to the point, and the desire of humanity is to go much deeper than that and get into the real thing, which is us.
Right.
The R. We are that thing that brings us to no longer a substitute. I wrote in here and said, thank you, Howard Singer. It does make good sense to me. And we will discuss these thoughts on our FB session Friday evening. After cutting the umbilical cord to the church ages and recasting our character, it does feel somewhat disoriented for a good while. The spiral motion brings us back around time and time again to gain the feeling, the connection, the emotion, all these things of what we have done. It's like layers of skin after an open wound. You've had a deep cut. It peels itself off layer after layer as the healing goes. And it comes back around time and time again and lays another scab and peels back and another peels back, and it keeps going. It's the thought of cutting the cord, bringing disorientation, is real, and we need to understand that feeling and forget about the substitutes, cut the cord, and then connect ourselves to the real self.
Yes.
Step inside, come into the micro, connect with the real being, connect with the real Savior, connect with the real Jesus. That Jesus that hung on Calvary said it is finished for him, and he took his body and he put it back in the cosmos, and it was finished for him. And what we're doing is try to set up that substitute time and time and time again. Connecting to our real self is what we need to do. And removing the substitutes of mediation, propitiation, somebody between us. It's just us, the Spirit. And I thought they were great thoughts.
Great
What
thoughts.
he wrote there.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to comment on
And
it.
remove the substitute of God being a being that I can thank for doing everything for me, or Satan being a being that I can blame everything on. Remove all those substitutes, cut that umbilical cord to that religious world, and it's a fearful thing. People fear the unknown. So cutting that substitute, you cut off your lifeline in a sense. Everything that you know is your lifeline. Step out into the unknown and you realize that you've known where you needed to go all along. It's not really an unknown, it's you. You are the real thing.
Yes.
Let yourself evolve and grow. Find out what you need to evolve and step into that.
Amen. That's it. I remember being at Brother Mitta's, and I believe it was the last time I was there, and we were sitting in his study, and we had been going over several things, kind of getting off by ourselves and having some discussions, because it was, Brother Mitta's always had a very deep understanding, and we kind of match up. So, but we know that we're talking, the sky's green to most people. And they're like, no, the sky's blue. Well, we're talking so different that we know we need to get by ourselves. Well, we did, and one of the things he said to me, I administered a message, and one of the things he said to me was, you've really put me into a predicament. And I said, how's that? He said, that somehow, after you leave here, I have got to explain to people that there's no God. And I said, well, Brother Mitta, I'm glad it's you and not me. And Brother Mitta came through, and he stood there with these people, and he really came through and seen many of those things. He and I were just hashing it back and forth, and he was showing me as many things that I was showing him. But he came through with it. And then there was another brother in Africa who I had him sitting in his study, and I said, there's just absolutely a time when God has to end, and that time is now. And I said, we're not talking about a spirit, we're talking about a concept, God. I said, it's got to end, and that time is now. And he said, I don't know how I'm going to be able to make God and Satan and all these things, processes, and come to an end. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. And I said, you'll figure it out. Well,
That was fear talking when he said that.
Yeah.
That was fear.
And he let it take him.
Yeah.
He never did step into it, teach his people. And when he tried to do it the best he could, set his people free, then he got afraid. Not only the fear of not knowing how to work with these people, but the fear of losing them to the world. And so he turned his back on this. He's a good brother. He took his route. His assembly's taken their route. Many of the brethren that used to be in the assembly write me quite a bit. And they say, we pray for him all the time, Brother Parnell. But his greatest fear was he was losing control of his people. And I said, that was my greatest freedom. When I lost control of people and just let it go and really said, I'm going to trust in these people, that they have something in them, that they may go around the horde and do some of the craziest things in the world, but they have something in them that's going to bring them back and is going to settle them down into what they need to settle down into.
Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And what was he talking about there? I've come so you can understand who you are, that there is no sin.
Right.
There is no God and devil.
Yeah.
Have life to have it more abundantly.
That's right.
Let go of your fear.
That's it.
He wasn't talking about eternal life. He was talking about the life that you live right here and now.
Exactly. That makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you take many people, they want a creator. They want something that they can take all of their fears and not have to deal with it. Put it off on something. And if he don't take care of it, they fall apart. And they put it on something, put their fear out there, put everything out there, and then when that something doesn't come through for them, then you got to blame somebody. So you either change your God, find another one that you can put everything on, or you blame it on something else called the devil, instead of coming up to what you should do, and that's step up to the responsibility of yourself and get rid of all the substitutes, and know that there are times when I'm definitely not going to perform the way that I should. And when I'm in those times, I'm just as good, I'm just as pure, I'm just as holy, I'm just as sweet, I'm just as everything as I am during the times when I'm performing in an elite manner and everything is going really great. Whether I'm in one or the other, I'm still the same person, and it's just as much Christ in his learning process as one or the other. I like this, and then we got the conversation that we were discussing that we'll come back to. Cheyenne Dogman. I was going through a lot of things, just looking them up on the internet, and I found this, and it doesn't give the person's name. It just says it's one of the quotes, or one of the proverbs of the Cheyenne Dogman. I thought it was beautiful. I didn't know of a God until religion came from the educated intruders, the white men. I didn't know there was a God. I knew a spirit that moved among the trees and the plains. When I was young, that spirit was not a God, but it was each of us, our hearts, taking care of all things. Then we were presented with a God, which proceeded to separate our people, cause war among the tribes, and brought our culture to an extinction. I think the Spirit does not care for this God. When I read that, I thought, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Spirit does not care for this God. But that's what the concept of God did. That's what it does every time. Every time the concept of God, whether it's Muslim, or whether it's this, or whether it's that, or whether it's Christianity, or whether it's Hare Krishna, or whether whoever, the concept of God will separate a people, a nation, on and on and on. It'll form geographical grounds. It'll form battlefields. It'll form the concept of God. Anytime you're trying to put God into the mix, it'll do all of that. Mm-hmm. When you can forget about a God out here and recognize who you are and operate off of that, it brings unity. When I see the people out here as being just as much a part of the Spirit as I am, I want to unite. I want to work with them. I want to understand everything they have. But when I see them as a evil fiend, a devil, whatever you want to call it, separate, set up boundaries, set up walls, build forts, make weapons, kill people. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
The discussion we were having earlier, this is something that when we opened the attribute of human, did we fall? Or did we expand our dimensions to gain the uses of our 11 senses?
Mm-hmm. The latter.
That's what we did.
Memory, conscience, reason, affection, imagination. See, taste, feel, smell, hear. What's that 11th sense? Faith. We take all of those things which we could not operate in any of them until we got the feeling, the connection, the emotion, till we got all those things, till we cut the cord from our former form and recast it to become something else. We couldn't operate any of those things. When we come to the understanding of our attributes, we come to the understanding that fall was a bait formed by religions to keep humanity in fear and for them to publish effective solutions for their fears. There was no fall. It was just a step forward to understanding our holistic nature. Brother Simon, out of Gabon. I like that.
I think, in one aspect, yeah. If you're comparing the Theo-civilization to now, yeah. I can see where at that time they would say we have to fall to get where we need to go. Because we have the word, we have all the knowledge. So we have to fall. That's a lack of understanding. Okay, they had knowledge, but they didn't have the understanding of what they were saying.
That's right.
Once it transitioned into humanity, through Adam and Eve, it was no longer a fall. We really, that put us on a level playing field at that point.
That's right.
And at that point, there was no up or down. It was just moving forward. Progression. Yes.
Yeah. There's no vertical to it. It was just straight horizontal, level playing field. Mm-hmm. When we can understand that the word fall was used in a manner, it could have been very easily said that it was a rise. We rose higher. Mm-hmm. But when you're on one side of the veil looking into another, you're going to say, oh, look at these things, this is terrible. When you're on the other side of the veil looking back, you're going to say, this is not so bad after all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at now. We're looking backward. We come out of theophany, entered into the mundane chaos of spoken word and humanity, and we dwelt in them for thousands of years. And now we're coming to the other side of theophany, spoken word, carnal natures, and we're coming over into understanding a spiritual being, and we're looking back at all that by revelation, and we're saying that was not so bad. But I'm telling you, when they were slaughtering and killing one another and dying to deaths and famines and nations and crucifixions, if you're in it, it's a horrible thing.
Right.
But coming on down here and get over the veil and look back, you say,
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
Right.
That gave us all the things we needed.
It was necessary.
Yes.
Absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that.
If there had been a better way, it would have happened. But what we've been through had to happen.
That's right.
I think this way presented us with more opportunities than any other way we could figure out. Because what's the Spirit trying to do? To understand itself. To spread out and then pull back together and understand what it's like to expand and contract. To expand and contract. That's what it's trying to understand that.
That's right.
So that's exactly what it has to do in order to do that.
And then it's like we were talking about this dimensional thing, and we said in order to fully understand our discussion earlier, you're going to have to believe that the answer depends on the angle of view and what dimension you're looking out of.
Yes.
Perception.
That's the only way that you can make sense of it. And that's the same way with this. From the angle of Adam coming out of spoken word and Garden of Eden into carnal humanity, you probably had a pretty good thought on it that it was a fall. But it wasn't a fall. They were in a Garden of Eden, and what did they live off of in that Garden of Eden? All you have to do is go back and read a little bit. They lived off of water. They had water in all their foods, all their vegetables. Water, water, water. 4 rivers flowed out of the Garden of Eden. This constantly, it was a water covenant. That's what it was. And so then they had to step out of that water covenant. And what covenant did they step into? What did they start sacrificing? Blood.
Blood covenant.
And John said, there's 3 that bear record in the earth. So they exercised the water and got that understanding of the water covenant, fulfilled it, and moved over into a blood covenant, which moved them a step higher, not lower. It wasn't a fall, it was a step up. Got into the blood covenant, and then here come Pentecost. 6 or 4,000 years after that blood covenant come in, here come Pentecost, and what did they enter into? A spirit covenant, which took them higher than the water or the blood. So now what we're doing is we're seeing that we have progressed through all of that, and we're getting a holistic understanding that we're not under any covenant now. We are manifesting and acclimating to the earth, which has been through its processes, and it's our time to take it and live in it and make it all the kingdoms of our Lord. Another one said, yes, I think we fell. We fell from the ignorance of fear. I kind of like that. To a more excellent way. Something more than an angel. Something beyond light and darkness. We became a self-known. And known to ourselves, which is the will of the Spirit. Thank you always for letting us see this. That was Brother Louis Villamore. He said, yeah, we fell. We fell from our fear. We cast off all these things. we entered into a more excellent way. So it's like I used to say, if we fell forward.
Yeah.
We didn't fall backward. I think fall is just a trick. This is another brother. A word for us to tackle ourselves, to understand ourselves, to come into our own awareness of who we are. But in a real sense, there is no fall that happened, but life being expressed in reality. For us to understand our senses and how to use it into a unique way with a physical body. The only way in truth for us to unfold all of our attributes is to become physical. And that wasn't a fall. That's true. It's true.
That was purposely done.
That's right. Purposely done.
And they'll say, well, that was part of God's divine plan. No, that was your plan. You're the one that planned it. You planned on coming here to express your physical being.
Yes. And then Alvin, in our discussions today, and we can go further with it and go deeper and get scared of it and walk away, whatever we want to do.
Change it.
I was thinking about Jesus' commission. The day he walked into the synagogue, read from the book, closed it, and proclaimed this scripture is fulfilled. Also the other statements that he made, like, I and my Father are one. I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Who do you say that I am? He was getting at something when he made all these statements. What was he really telling them as far as who they were in reference to who he is, in reference to who we are now? I'm driving, so ignore the voice text errors. So there weren't too many errors. But what was Jesus getting at when he made all those statements? Like, I and my Father are one. I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Who do you say I am? He was getting at something when he was making these statements. What was he trying to get them to recognize? Is what Alan is asking.
You know, he wasn't talking to the church leaders or religious leaders when he closed the book and said that scripture's fulfilled. Yeah, they were all there. But after that, he talked to the normal people. He talked to disciples and everyone else outside of the religious world. So I think he was trying to wake them up into this, you're not that. Don't limit yourself to Moses' law. Pull yourself away from that. You're better than that. You're more fulfilled than that. You have more you can do, more that you can evolve to. You're stagnant. Get out of that stagnated water. I think that's what he was trying to point to. Not just so much of who he is as an example, but who you are as well. I think he's trying to wake people up.
Trying to get them to look at themselves and the status they were in. Are you in the status of a scripture from a day gone by? Are you in a status of a scripture of prophecy? What status are you in? And Jesus was trying to wake them up to the fact, come to the now.
Yes.
Come to right now.
Yes.
And that's what I seen when you wrote this. I thought he was trying to get them out of the Jeremiahs and the Ezekiels and the Moseses and all these guys. And he was trying to pull them out of the who's going to sit on the throne and who's going to live in Israel when the prophecies come to pass and how's the whole world going to worship us. And Jesus was trying to get them out of this one and out of this one and get them into the now, the right now. Who are you? Who am I? What is happening here?
Who do you say I am? Whoever you say I am, that's who you are as well.
Yeah. And then, I believe it was Dan who wrote, he said, we never really clarified the difference between what we know and what we learn as humans. I feel it's a combination of both. Knowledge opens the dance, but we're free to change the steps in the dance according to how we feel. We either support or change our knowledge according to our feelings. So, I think I'll just let them just a second on it. I think I know what he's saying, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, but what I'm saying is, it's all tied into one thing: how we feel. And we talked about this Sunday. How we feel is our feminine, our female nature. How we think is our male nature. Our male nature says, the dance is open, everybody hit the dance floor. But our female nature gets out there and says, wait a minute, I want to change the steps. I want to do something a little bit different. Without that, what do you have? You have an empty life. It's dead. It's meaningless. It's useless. It'll only take you so far.
yes.
So in other words, we are learning how to what? Change. Beyond all else, we're
Yes.
learning how to change based on how we feel. Once you understand what we talked about last Sunday, the difference between the male and the female natures, this will make a lot more sense to you.
Yes.
Because that's in reference to that. What you think is your male.
Male.
What you feel is your
Female.
female.
Mhm.
And you have both of those inside you.
Yes.
We'll say, no, I'm a male. I don't. Do you have feelings? Yeah. Then you have a female nature within you.
Yes.
Every human being has it. So that's kind of where
That's right.
I was opening the dance for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking then, and now it came to my mind again, how that Jesus made a statement, and he was talking to his disciples, and he said, which one of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to your stature? And I thought about that, and I looked at it, and I thought, well, that's true. Because taking thought, that's the male side of things. Which one of you, by just being a male, can add to or bring in even 1 cubit to your stature? And I thought that's absolutely right. But on the other hand, if you bring in the female with it, the female being the physical, having the feeling, having the sensation, having all those things, you bring the female in with it, which one of you can add to? All of us can.
Mm-hmm.
We can enhance, we can add to, we can become smarter, we can become more religious, we can become more scientific, we can become more spiritual. Just take a look at your body. How do you make your body function? By the things which you eat. Physically speaking, that's the female side of the whole human race, is the connection with emotion and physical action. That's the female. So when we take on emotion and feeling and understanding and learning, and we begin to put that into practical application, we are adding. We're adding to our stature. We're adding to who we are. And that's what Peter said. He said, add to your stature faith, virtue, knowledge, temperance, patience, godliness, brotherhood. What is all that? That is the heart of everything. That's the feeling. That's the want to. That's the desire. That's the emotion. That's the faith. That's all of these things that we could not exercise in prior civilizations. And now we're able to. So the whole context of, and I asked the question, I said, can we change the stars? You know, it's an old question from way back in the English days when they studied the stars to the point that they believed bloodlines and everything else came from the stars. And you can be a royal bloodline or you can be a pauper, And whatever you are, you're not going to change that. It doesn't matter what you do. That's your destination. Well, I personally think we can change the stars. We came here under a framework of predestination, election. We came here under a framework of foreknowledge. But when we get here, all of that is completed and finished up, and now we're going to make ourselves into something. We're going to take a form of something, and that something and that form is going to take its form by our 11 senses. By our senses of see, taste, feel, smell, and hear. By our senses of memory, conscience, reason, affection, imagination. We're going to build and create because we came here as creators. And we're going to build and create every day, and we are going to add to our cubit. We are going to add all these things that we used to say, well, you're just predestinated to be this or that. I'm telling you, I have to throw that aside. I don't want to go there. I believe we can change the stars. I believe we can go from a prince to a pauper, or I believe we can go from a pauper to a prince, depending on what you want to do, the paths you choose, and the things that you bring into your life.
You're going to add something to your life, or you're going to add nothing to your life. Either way, you're going to add. Either something or nothing. Something's going to be, you're going to add to your life, one way or the other.
I think this was Alan. Might have been me. I don't know. I think it's Alan though.
If it was good, it was you.
Yes. A good topic is Alan. Our feelings are based on and or a result of our experiences. Our knowledge/spirit focuses itself into being human in order to experience creation. We feel the result of our experiences. The feeling/emotion of our experience we take with us after this journey and into whatever the next journey may be. So we pass through this field that we're in right now. We're passing through here for one reason: to take out of it many of the tools that develop our very character and nature throughout eternity.
Right.
And we can change ourselves here. We can change ourselves. We can add to ourselves. We can take away from ourselves. We can multiply ourselves. We can do all kinds of things here based on your feelings, your emotion, your love, your hatred, your whatever it might be. You're constantly changing the formation and format of who you are.
And you're going to take that with you through your journey here, on back or on forward to the other side. Now, to think that this is the only journey you're going to have, and after this you get to the other side and it's just bliss and chicken and rice, no.
Yeah.
There's other journeys. I don't know what that's going to be. Some think you come back here. I don't care what it's going to be. I really don't care. You're going to take this journey with you to your next journey. You're always evolving. Always.
Yes.
You never stop growing and evolving.
That's right. Daniel said, let me ask this of everyone. Still in the discussion of feeling. Let me ask this of everyone. What defines you as a parent? Your knowledge of parenthood, or what you learn about parenting that's different from your knowledge, or is it the combination of both? So before I ever became a parent, I gained a lot of knowledge about being a parent. Now, then I become a parent. And I am a parent by experience, and I use some of that knowledge to hopefully parent better. So is parenting come from knowledge, or does it come from experience? I think that's what you're asking here.
That's exactly what I'm asking, yeah. And I believe it comes from both.
Yes.
One starts the race, the other finishes it. You have to start somewhere. You have to have a starting point. So you come into this world, and there's a certain amount of knowledge about parenthood that's passed on to you.
Yeah.
Once you become self-aware, you're no longer looking at all the knowledge, because your self-awareness will come from the experiences that you go through. So when you start becoming more self-aware, you'll look at it and think, wait a minute. Grandpa tried that, Dad tried that, didn't work. I'm not trying that same thing on this one. I'm going to adjust it a little bit because I want a different outcome.
Yes.
So what did he do? Now, through experience, I just changed my knowledge of what being a parent is to me. Now, the foundational knowledge is still there, but the knowledge to me has now evolved individually.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah. And that's good, because I can't say that all the knowledge that I had was null when I came into the experience. But I can say that as I moved into the experience, I realized that my interpretation of my knowledge sometimes is just not the fact. It's not the best way to go. And I'm telling you, when we had things going on in our life and we didn't know what to do, and we make a move, sometimes we would choose to make a move according to the Word. How'd that work out? Sometimes it didn't work out too good. Other times you try to make a move according to your heart, and everything just goes into a flow, and everything moves just right, and you say to yourself, wow, how did I step into this thing that I thought was going to be so horrible is now. So that's, sometimes you cannot, if you want to have a life that is satisfying, that is real to one another, sometimes you have to step outside the Word to do that. Adam and Eve had to step outside the spoken Word to have the life they had, and to bring all of humanity into a higher power, into a higher sense of who they are. So don't think to yourself every time a little problem comes up, how would the Word, what should I do according to the Word? What should I do? I'm thinking, I've had many people sit down across the table in counseling, and pounding away on husband or wife, either one, on the other one. They need to just understand and get back to the Word. And I'm thinking to myself, if you go this route, you're not going to be together. And I'd tell them, I'd say, you can go in here and I can show you all kinds of scripture, and if you go home and you use that on one another, you're not going to last long. And they would look at me like, but I thought we were supposed to go according to the Word. And I said, no, you're supposed to go according to the flow of the Spirit and how you love one another.
Yes.
And that love, that interpretation of the Word that you have, that came from thousands of years of millions of people. And you need to go home and just the two of you work it out and forget what anybody else has to say.
Yeah, exactly right. In other words, why are you sitting here? Go home and talk about it.
Yeah,
Go home and discuss it.
That's right. But the issue is, we want to say, what does the Word say? Well, you know what I found when I get people who constantly say, what does the Word say? Go back to the Bible. What did William Branham say? I automatically think to myself, people let demons form on their tree. And I'm listening to a demon 99% of the time when that starts coming out.
You know what that demon is saying? You're the prophet. Tell me what the Word says. So if it fails, I can blame you.
That's right.
That's what that demon is saying.
Yes. And I've even had men do that. Go away, take advice that I gave them, and come back and say, I need some more advice. I say, what for? Well, it didn't work. I said, what do you mean it didn't work? What didn't work? What you told me. And I'd go through it. Okay, you did this and this and this. Well, I did all of it but one thing. I said, that's what I figured. I'm not advising you according to the word. I'm telling you, you need to come together and love one another based on your home situation, how your kids are, how your family is, how your work is. You got to come together and forget about books and the word and the prophets and everything else, and you got to pull together as one here. And a lot of people wouldn't. And then they come back and say, you told us to do this and it didn't work. And I'm just like, yeah. I even told one man, he kept coming to me so much with the same old thing that I finally said, do not call me and do not come back to me with the same thing. I don't want to hear it anymore. You're not doing what you're supposed to do, so just shut up about it. I don't want to hear it. And then he said I had a bad spirit. So, emotion, love, connection, feeling, all of these things mean so much more than the logic and the thinking. By taking thought, you cannot add to 1 cubit. But by doing more than taking thought, eating and feeding and loving and nourishing and on and on, by doing more, you can add to your cubit. You can add to your stature. Personally, it is the transformation from knowledge into understanding through my choices, based on how I feel, that fulfills and completes my attributes. In other words, my knowledge is dead. This made me think of the book of James so much. Listen to it. In other words, my knowledge is dead. And without my feelings, which can and do change my knowledge, therefore it is my feelings that bring life to my knowledge. And every time I choose something outside of the standard knowledge, I am changing the knowledge by how I feel. I have then learned something new. I really like that. I think Daniel wrote that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand this. Let me read it one more time real quick. Personally, it is the transformation from knowledge into understanding through my choices based on how I feel that fulfills and completes my attributes. In other words, my knowledge is dead. Remember, James said the body without the spirit is dead. My knowledge is dead without my feelings, which can and do change my knowledge. When you take the body and the spirit and you put it together, before we were spirit, we put the spirit into a body, and now what do we got? It ain't exactly going by the word, is it? I can read in the word where it says we never die, we never sin, we never lie, we're this, we're that. I can read where it says you can read all of these things in there, but when I took the spirit and I put it in a body, it's different.
It's different.
And that's what he's saying here is it is my feelings that bring life to my knowledge. So my humanity brought life to the word.
Yes. Yes.
It's not the word bringing life to humanity.
No.
My humanity brought life to the word. It made the word stand up, and it made the word be what it's really supposed to be. Not some logical thinking, not some eternal thing, not some unchangeable God. It made us acclimate, it made us change, it made us love, it made us suffer. It made us do all of those things in our feelings, our spirit, everything about it brought on a totally different knowledge. Every time I choose something outside of the standard knowledge, I am changing the knowledge by how I feel. I have then learned something new.
This moves us from carnality into spirituality. In short, that's what I'm saying. You're taking a carnal concept, and you yourself are not somebody, something out there. You yourself are transforming yourself into a spiritual being with this understanding.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Very true. So we couldn't even, it's no wonder that Paul put us in 3 groups. Dead, asleep, or alive. The dead are those who have never been here. They got no feeling for anything. They've yet to come here. The alive are those that are here now, gaining all this experience and understanding. And those that are asleep are those that have come through it, and they're on the other side, and they're resting as they go through their next journey, and they will, in some form, whether it's all together one day, whether it's they're dimensionally here now, and they will in some form begin to break down to us, and we'll begin to see one another. So this puts us where we're alive here and now because we have the body and we have the spirit acting in a vessel right here, right now.
Yes.
That's the now. We are those that are alive and remain, shall be caught up. That's us.
That's us. Every one of us. Not just us sitting at the table, but every one of you out there listening, it's you too. You're the one that has to accept or reject this. If you reject this, it puts you back in that carnal stage and you're battling with yourself all the time. If you can accept this, all that'll go away eventually, over time and experience, it'll go away, and you'll become daily more spiritual.
That's right. Alan said I'm waiting on others to comment before I jump back in. But to answer your question, it takes a combination of both to make you whole. So, feeling and logic. I think we got into it in here. I am. The whole I is the logic side. Am is the feeling side. The progressing. Theo and humanity. That's the I am. That's what it is. It takes both. And you have to, in order to understand the answer for the moment, not the absolute, not the answer for eternity, but the answer for the moment is the now. And when you get into it, you're going to look from one angle and say, this is the answer. You're going to look from another angle and you're going to say, this over here's the answer. And you may look from another angle and say, this is the answer. And each time that you're in the same space dimensionally, you're going to have that answer. So your answer may be 3, 4 different things concerning the same thing because you're standing from a different view and looking at it. I guarantee you William Branham's answers now are a whole lot different than when he was here.
Yes.
Because he has passed through and he's looking from a different angle at what's going on. And you do the same thing.
Yep.
I just hit the thumbs down button. Sorry. My mistake. I got to stop using my right thumb.
He's comment.
I did this just for meetings.
I know, that's fine. I'm left-handed, I got no business using my right thumb. It just messes me up.
I am learning. Yeah. As we progress, we are discovering that any attribute, any expression is incomplete without the combination of choices, which will definitely change things. I now can say that I know I am learning. So as we progress and discover and enter into an attribute, enter into an expression or a combination of things, any time we have to say that that thing is incomplete until we have gone through all of our emotion and feeling and understanding about that thing. So what I say about Love Divine in 2014, 5 years ago now, almost 6, it is 6, what I would say about it then, you may read where Don Parnell said this, and you come over here 6 years later and you say, wow, he said that here, but he said this here. Well, I'm looking at it from 2 different angles. I'm looking at it from 2014, coming out of the Third Testament, looking at all the chaos around me, wondering what in the world is going to happen and if this thing is really of the Lord or not. And I've had all kinds of feelings. Now I'm over here and I am just smack dab sure of where we're at. So you say, well, he didn't know for sure about this and that over here. Well, over here I do. I understand this thing. And we're going to continue to move in that flow. And all the attributes and expressions are incomplete things that we say and do until we've come through all of our emotion about that thing. Now, we're not going to have one more thing to say about the church ages. It's done. It's over. It's finished. The book's been written. It's laying on the shelf. Now, I'm not going to waste my time trying to get into feelings and emotions of that thing that went on. It's got nothing to do with it. It's not my day. It's not anything. So those feelings are complete. And what you would hear me say about the church ages is a view of total completeness. I understand where it is. I understand what it is. I understand why we had to have it. And it's a complete view. But now when we're talking about Love Divine and you hear me say something in 2020 and I come back in 2030 with something so much deeper because we've gone through the spiral cycle 4 or 5 more times, well, which one should I follow? Well, you don't follow any of them. But if you're going to take something I said, take the most recent thing I said. Take the I am. Take the now. And if I said something in 2014 or 15 or 16 that contradicts us in 2020, lay this one back here down. We've progressed. We've come to a greater understanding. We've come to a more complete feeling. We've come through 6 years of feeling and expression and everything that's going on. And this one over here in 2020 is going to be much fresher, much more real, much more understanding to it than what it was back here.
If you do anything, look for a pattern in it. Don't look for, well, he said this here and it's completely opposite, which one's right and which one's wrong. No. Look for the pattern of progression because that's what it will point out to.
That's right. It's all about the contrast to know how it feels in all things. This happens to every human being. Sister Connie.
It's true.
We couldn't even know
That's right.
without all that.
That's right.
We created our own world. We were going to make that statement. We got so much power we could create our own world and go live in it. Well, daggone if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. Here I am. I created my own world. You created yours. You created yours. We are creators. And now we come here and we're gaining all the feelings and experiences off of it. And we're living in our creation. And we have become the creator and the creation.
Yes. Yes.
He's not talking about something externally. It's an internal thing. Don has created a world in his home. When you walk in, there's certain atmospheres, certain things going on continually in his home that you'll find in his home. He has created that world. Doesn't mean he can't go out and enjoy another world. He can go to somebody else's house and sit with them and fellowship and enjoy it. And that's another world. But he's got his own that he has created around him to find his sanctuary, his place of peace. That's the reference that is being made. William Branham said that. He didn't, I don't think he expressed it in such a way where we caught understanding to it, but now we do, and we understand that's what he was referencing.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of a future thing.
No.
It is a matter of the here and the now.
In here and now.
I created a world in my family situation before I was ever married. I created a world around me. I created a world in my school. I created a world in my career. I created a world in my ministry. And I go and I live in all those worlds. And I mix them up and I use the things I learned in my career in my ministry. And the things in my ministry, everything, you stir it up. And you got 5, 6, 7 worlds or 10 worlds or 20 worlds going on all around you. And you created every one of them. And you are living in them. And you are gaining from the experience of those every single day.
That is your solar system.
That's right.
Running off its own constellation. That's what that is.
Yes.
And some people run hot. They're Venus. Some people are cold. Uranus, and we won't get into that. But it points out everything's right there. You can look at it and you can compare it. It's why did we put these? Why do we have so many planets in the solar system we don't use? It's symbolic. It's to show you what we're doing with ourselves.
That's right. That is correct. The example that you described caused you to learn based on your experience. This is the things we've been talking about here. Your knowledge of which button to push did not change. Your experience of pushing the wrong button caused a feeling or a reaction that taught you to push the correct button the next time. That's the things that happen to us every day. You ever get, I used to be in HR, and I made it everybody, everything that they did, right down to their own notes. At the end of the day, I'd say, I want your notes put in PDF. You know why? Because daggone if somebody don't hit the delete button sooner or later. And PDF backs itself up where you can go find it. And what we do is that same thing. And the reason I made everybody do that is because we make the mistakes as human beings of hitting the wrong button, of choosing, a choice that's just not as good as the other choice.
Like a thumbs down.
Yeah, the thumbs down, exactly. That's what it's saying.
Your experience of pushing the wrong button caused a feeling or a reaction that taught you to push the correct button the next time. So yes, you learned something new because of your choice, experience, and feeling. As a result, your knowledge, spirit, experienced the attributes of human nature, and your soul recorded it. So your spirit can feel the result of the contrast that your soul recorded. In that sense, yes, the spirit has accomplished a goal. Doesn't matter what it was. Whether you thought something about somebody or something, or whether you did something about somebody or something, or whatever it might be in your life, whether it's computers, whether it's your careers, whether every move that you make creates a feeling, an emotion, and a reaction in you, and you automatically begin to set up systems inside your mind to protect and develop yourself from that. Just like I set up the PDF system to protect us from losing those notes. Because a lot of times in arbitrations, in terminations, in everything else, if you don't have those things, very copious notes, well, you're going to lose that battle. So that's what this is all about, is setting those things up. And then the person who said that they needed to stop talking because they felt like it was the coffee. And I said it even tasted like coffee. So we're talking about there's a concept. If you go to the Baptist church, the Baptists are going to say, we were redeemed before the foundation of the world, and our name went on the Lamb's Book of Life before the foundation of the world. And I would say, amen. And then you go to the Pentecostal church, and they're going to say, There's no way that your name was on anything before the foundation of the world. When you come here, the gifts and the callings and the things that you have in your life prove whether you're there or not. And you got put onto the Lamb's Book of Life when Jesus died on Calvary. Your name was transferred. And I would say, amen, to both of them. Because when you're looking from an eternal angle, before any of this ever happened in the earth, it was already knowledge in the theophany of where we were going. And then after we get here, the blood really is shed, and the man really does die, and it's not just a thought or a thinking thing of it, but it really does happen, and in the blood, my name really is transferred from the book of life into the Lamb's Book of Life, and that happened on Calvary. Mm-hmm. If I'm looking at it from an earthly angle, mm-hmm. if I'm looking at it from a humanity angle, if I'm looking at it from a theological angle, before the world was. So when you step into a dimension, the dominancy of that dimension is what you're going to focus on.
There you go.
And I focus when I'm in the earth on what happens here and now. I focus on the logical end of it when I'm looking at the past and I'm looking at the future and I'm looking at patterns and I'm trying to logically figure it out and put it here and see it. So it's not a matter of a direct one answer to anything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of where are you standing? What dimension are you talking from? Mm-hmm. That's why many times I'll answer 2 or 3 questions with, yes, I believe that. And then someone says, well, you can't believe all 3. Yes, I can. I absolutely can. It depends on the dimension we're in and the dimension we're talking about. Am I crazy?
No.
Well, I am. But when you realize that this is not the only dimension, that this is not the only life, that this is the here and now, and this is what we're to focus on right now. It's what's going on here. But it's not the only.
It's not the only here and now, is it?
That's right. 5 minutes from now, there's going to be another here and now. A year from now, it's going to be another here and now. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But it's always going to be here. Tomorrow never comes. I remember there was an old store that Dad used to go to, and we used to go to in Mulberry, Indiana. And on the sign out front, it said, "Big sale tomorrow." And that sign stayed there.
Yeah.
And we go in, you look around, and I remember thinking to myself, well, what's the big sale about? What's going on? Well, they would just, the owner would laugh and say, "It's tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow." It never came, because there's no tomorrow, so there's no big sale.
Yeah.
And
Clever.
if
Very
he
clever.
decided to have a big sale, he'd put out on the front window, "Big sale today."
Yeah.
Then everybody run to the store. Something really is going on. But he'd have it in up in the window all the time. "Big sale tomorrow."
Yeah.
Because tomorrow never comes. It's now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that if you evolve due to learning something new,
9:20.
if you evolve due to learning something new, whether it be the knowledge itself or the feelings about it, then the Spirit has learned also, although not collectively. Each time an individual learns something, that progresses that person. It incrementally involves the Spirit as a whole. So, as a unit
Right.
learns something,
Right.
the whole unit picks up that knowledge.
Yes.
And when it picks up that knowledge, now collectively the whole unit is going to move into that experience by each individual doing that. Good example is Jesus. On Calvary, one individual experienced the knowledge, moved it into experience of death, taking the beatings, taking the mockings, taking the stripes, taking one body, moved it all to Calvary and hugged that cross and hung there in death. And by so doing, all the body incrementally begins to move into that thing until the entire body goes through that. And when we understand that, now I can understand that my little pebble, you are important. You're the most important thing in the world right now. And your little pebble will push the wave as far as it needs to be pushed. And you don't need to worry about how far that wave's going to go. Just throw the pebble in.
Get your ripple.
It's up to other things, other circumstances, everything else as to how far that ripple goes. I'm not worried about how many people this little hour-and-a-half session or 2 hours, whatever it ends up being. I'm not worried about how far it's going to go, how many people are going to listen to it, how many thousands around the world are paying attention to us. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm just putting the pebble out there. And as far as it goes, hallelujah, that's all I got to say. If it goes right out here just outside the window and drops, that's I can't do anything about that.
Your individual focus is on making a splash with your rock. Once that's done, let the ripples take care of themselves.
They will do it.
They will. They will take care of themselves. You just focus on making that splash.
Yes, that's right. How far does it go? How far is it heard? How long is it going to last? It's not up to me. It's up to me to be the here and now.
Yep.
And if it goes 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, or like Jesus, 2,000 years down the road, that ripple is still moving all through the earth.
Yes, it is.
The Spirit, our spirit, us, is pure love. Love cannot love more or love less. It just loves. The expression of that love grows. New attributes in every moment of now. We learn so much, so very much due to our feelings. We evolve. Intentions, emotions, feelings, discernment, intuition, it just grows. We learn so much. We evolve. We change. But the Spirit, love, never changes. It's just simply love. It doesn't become less when you do bad things. The other dimension that Brother Branham is teaching in is a physical dimension in the earth too. And it is. They're right here physically now. George Pike, William Branham, Paul, Irenaeus, Martin Columba, John Knox, George Whitefield, John Wesley. You could just keep naming all the Old Testament prophets. They're all here right now. And they are physically in this dimension, but they're just at a speed that's much greater than this speed. And so, therefore, we can't pick them up with a natural eye. They're here. Another expression of the Spirit, another evolution of the soul. They're right here, and they are evolving. But the Spirit itself is pure love. Energy expands and contracts, changes form, ever evolving. But at its very core, it is still simply energy. It is simply love. That basic element will never change, but its attributes is ever changing, evolving. That's how I see it, which I think Brother Danny wrote that. I'm not sure.
That sounds like Alan's right.
Maybe it was Alan.
That sounds like Alan's
I
right.
lost some of the names, so.
He's a little more
But-
detailed
But,
than I. Add more coffee.
Had more coffee, yeah.
but I thought that was really good. That,
Very good.
that
Right on target.
you don't, when we say, our love is greater, it can't be any greater. Love is love, but what it can be is more emotional,
Mhm.
more feeling,
Mhm.
more connection,
Mhm.
more intuition, more of all those things. And that's what I was saying, the addition. By taking thought, I can't add 1 cubit to my statue, but by taking faith, knowledge, love, virtue, and I take all those things, those are additions to make my stature a much greater thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Even though the quantity is not there, it definitely improves the quality.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
The effect, the influence, all of these things can increase or decrease.
Yes.
Brother Felix Felix Marion Oy. Truly, preaching humanity is how to preach Christ. We are really giving the power back to humanity. The feeling is strong every day as we unfold this thing. However, nothing is complete without someone making his own choice about this thing. And we're all happy about this message. He's putting humanity back into the people. That's where it is.
Yes. And I will say this, just Brother Marion. I have known Brother Marion for, gosh, maybe since 2000, 20 years. Brother Marion and I have had some real philosophical differences. But we have worked our way through every last one of them, and it didn't matter to me what it was. I seen he was a brother, and there were times when I thought I just hit him too hard. I said too many hard things. He's not going to come back around. And he would always just like elastic. He would just I'd get him so out of form, it was unbelievable with his feelings. But Marion always come back around. This last time that I seen Brother Marion was in the Philippines. I didn't know he was coming. I had heard that he was going to come the time before, and he did it. And then I heard again he was going to come this time, and I thought, well, it's like the time before. Brother Marion's not going to be able to come. But he showed up. He came. He had a desire and an interest to learn what was going on. And he came there, and he came off of his own money. He worked his way through, got his ticket. He worked his way through, got his visas. He done everything by himself. He wanted this thing so bad, and he wanted to be in the meetings. He wanted to feel the experience of it. He wanted to be there, and he wanted it so bad that he worked his way through it and was there. And I thought, this brother really has a desire for these things. He's a strong brother. And there were other ministers that got jealous over him coming. They thought that I paid his way. They thought that I invited him to come and didn't invite them. They had all kinds of feelings and thoughts over why Marion was in my meetings, and some of them even turned on me and just said horrible things, and still are saying horrible things, and have turned their back on this because they felt like I showed favor to Marion. It's a sad situation. What people lets their human nature get them into. But listen to me. Marion is sitting right there tonight in Africa, 6 hours ahead of us. So he's sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, listening to this and wanting it and believing it with all of his heart at 3 and 4 in the morning. Stays up all night to hear this. And he's doing it by his own understanding and his own revelation. Don Parnell is not paying him. As sad as it is, people really think that this revelation is about that. It has nothing to do with that. Remember that love, which is a constant, is made up of positive and negative energies, and all the shades created by mixing both. 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh gosh.
All the shades. So we can say now that positive love and negative love are always present, yet the mixture of both is new. When the I and the am come together, it's a new mixture. When the positive and negative love comes together, it's a new mixture. It's new because it was not so before the attribute of humanity came to be. And you say, well, yeah, but now it's 6,000 years old, which is a drop in the bucket to eternity. It's very new. Question: can knowledge be learned, or as the word itself implies, it is already known by others elsewhere? Can knowledge be learned, or as the word itself implies, is it already known by others elsewhere? I think we found out it depends on what angle you're looking at.
There you go. It's a dimensional answer.
Answer. I could look at it from the theophany side and say knowledge cannot be learned. I already had all the word, I was already spoken word, I was already all these things. Knowledge cannot be learned. I can look at it from the humanity side and I say knowledge can be learned every second of the day. Every second of the day.
You know, there's a story that I read. Yip Man, Bruce Lee's teacher when he was a young man in Hong Kong. Some Yip Man students came to him, I think it was 3 of them, came to him. They said, which movement is correct? So one did the movement, Yip Man said, yeah, that's correct. And the other one said, no, that's not correct, it's this way. So he did the movement, Yip Man said, yeah, that's correct. The third one said, no, that's not right. So third one did it, Yip Man said, yeah, that's correct. They said, well, which one? He said, all of them. That's correct for you, that's correct for you, that's correct for you.
Yes.
It's just that simple.
That's it.
Yeah, personal application.
Yeah.
Well, my point to that was because if you're trying to look for a black and white answer on that, you'll
Yeah.
get quiet because
Yeah.
you'll go, oh my gosh, how do I answer that one? It's a dimensional question. And the dimensional answer is it depends on your perspective.
That's right.
Where you're looking from.
Where are you at the moment, and
Yes.
where are you looking from? Yes. The why love is. That is the new mixture. That is what we came here to experience, to learn, and to evolve, okay? Let's look at it a little different way. Using Don's analogy, the very foundation of a house and all of its contents are love. You can take 1,000 Legos and build an unlimited number of structures on top of the foundation, unlimited number of attributes, feelings, expressions of creation, but you still have not added anything to the very foundation of love. Accept the expression of it. Creation is the greatest expression of love. Love will not change, but the creation that comes out from love will help it express and become greater and greater in expression. The I is love. The am is creation. I like that. The I never changes, but the am always changes. The am in I am is the soul, the nature of the I. I totally agree with it. Before I go on, I just want to
That
say.
was about the 6th cup of coffee when that came out.
Yeah, I can tell it kicked in.
Sometimes amphetamines are good. Daniel, can you elaborate more on your question, please? I'm not seeing what you're asking. Also, Brother Don, I just saw your addition to the conversation. So, Alan is asking Daniel to say more. Yes, that is one reason why I used William Branham and Don, because I can't see everything without looking at the big picture. It's multi-dimensional. Our challenge is not only to catch this, but also to understand how to apply it into inclusivity, or how am I going to look at it from over here? How am I going to look at it from over here? What's it going to look like from this view? I remember when I was out at the Grand Canyon, and I was so unbelievably overwhelmed because I could look at the canyon and then don't even take a step forward or backwards, just turn. And a whole new canyon with all the depth of it, new passages back through it that you've never even seen or nothing, just by closing your eyes and opening them, just by turning and looking this way or this way, without making hardly any moves. It was like a kaleidoscope, and it would be something totally new. And that's what we are saying here. We are saying that, look, there's multi-dimensional things out here. They are right in front of our eyes. Moses is right in front of our eyes. William Branham's right in front of our eyes. The devil, the processes are right in front of our eyes. All these, the gods are right in front of our eyes. All of these things are expressing themselves from the inside out of me and you. And what we need to do is come to an understanding of focusing and realizing that as soon as you make a move, it's going to be a whole new picture. You know, you don't make a move and say, that solidifies everything I ever believed. You make a move and you say, oh my God, here's things I never knew before. I never seen before. This don't even look like the same place. That's what we make moves for. We don't make moves to try to prove who we are.
No.
We make moves to find and be overwhelmed of our discoveries and the enjoyment and the things that we have in life all the time. I don't know what time it is.
9:35.
There's just a couple more things here if you want to go through them. But
Might as well finish.
Yeah.
these are the things I have a Friday, I usually put it out on Thursday night, and I say, hey, Friday evening is coming up. Anybody got any thoughts? And I put it out to most of the people that are part of this little local assembly, if you want to call it that. And then we start discussing it, you know. And it can be, you know, when I say local assembly, I ain't talking about just Fairborn or Yellow Springs. I mean, we have people in British Columbia, we have people in Florida, we have people in you know, Oregon, we have people, you just keep going on, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, you know, they're all over. But they're people that have been pretty much a part of the supportive part of this work we have right here. If you want to be on that list, you're certainly welcome to come on it. If you let us know, we'll get you there. So, and then on Thursdays we usually start talking a little bit. By Friday evening and Sunday we bring out all the things we talked about. It's a dimensional question, Alan. Others that have gone on see things differently. Absolutely right. They were here, they went on, and now they're looking back across all these veils. It's like Brother Branham told me in 2002. He said, I'm off my tree now. I see things so much clearer.
It's one of the things that popped into my head when I was writing that.
Yeah.
Was him saying that to you.
Yeah. You know, I'm not off of my tree yet.
Right.
I'm still right here.
Yeah.
And he said, I see things so much clearer. It's a dimensional question. Others that have gone on see things differently because they're not restricted to the knowns of this human life. In the same regards, those who haven't come see things differently. There's another angle, those that have not come here yet, because they haven't experienced the human choices yet. And then there's the angle of us who are here now, who are working our way through all these choices. So you got some who haven't come, some that are in the middle of it, and some who have passed on and have come through all of those knowns, and they're not limited by the knowns. They're limited over here by the unknowns, and we have both the knowns and the unknowns here, and we're trying to decipher it all. So can any of us gain new knowledge, or are we confined to the knowledge that the collective spirit that the collective spirit possesses, and are limited to just learning how we feel? So can we actually gain new knowledge, or are we just moving to enhance through experience the knowledge that we have? You just wait.
I try to stir up things. Equate this, this experience that he was talking about, that I brought out. Imagine yourself on a field playing a game. And you have spectators on both sides, and some of those have played the game before, long before, and they're old, and they just like watching the game. They've been there, they've done it, enjoy. Others have never played it, and hopefully maybe someday. That's the reference I'm talking about. Us are down there playing the game, and you have those who are going to play and enjoy the game but haven't played watching us, and those who have been through it and watching and still enjoy the game too. So all are involved.
Yes.
And when you asked that question, I started thinking about it, and show you how we change and evolve just in a single conversation. I started to realize that I was placing knowledge as the I. And I thought, that's not correct. Knowledge is the am. And that's what I get to later. So by you asking that, asking you to ask that question again, I want to understand what you're saying, it woke me up to a different awareness. It just shows how fast you can evolve and change.
And that's why we need this interaction, because that's what it does.
What you do is you just step through a veil. You step through a fog. You got a little fog, and you're sorting yourself through it. And you know how it is when you're driving a car, and you hit the fog, and you're like, put the brakes on and everything else, and then about the time you put the brakes on and you don't know exactly what to do, is there anything in front of you? You brake past the fog, and it's such a good feeling. You see everything. That's all we're doing. We're just passing through the fog. So Don, the knowledge of the Aquarian age is already in place, and we are just learning how we feel about it as we become aware.
I asked that. Okay. Because you got quiet on us there for a while.
Yeah, you did.
So I thought, okay, I got to poke him and see if I can get a response here, because he got quiet on us, and it was just me and Alan. So we're done, go. Anyway, just trying to provoke his.
I actually had to go into my CAT scan, whatever it's called. But in fact, I've just now seen this question. The knowledge of the Aquarian age is already in place, and we're just learning how we feel about it as we become aware. I would put it like this. The predestination of Aquarius has ended, because we're in it. It's not predestined for someplace anymore, it's here. The election of the Aquarius, or in other words, the pieces of earth that will stand up in Aquarius, are here. So the election is finished. The framework of Aquarius is here. Now, we are forming by our feelings. The we are putting flesh on. We're like Ezekiel. They started out with bones, and then it went to sinews, and then it went to flesh, and then it went to, well, we come through and we're putting flesh on the Aquarian age, and we're breathing the spirit of life into it. So to me, all I would say is the framework of Aquarius is here, and you can't really change that framework, so to speak, of the Aquarian age, the Aquarian sun, where the moon, where this is, where that is, and how long it's going to last, 2,054 years and all this. You're not going to change any of that. But is it already in place and we're just learning how we feel? No, I think we're creating the feelings. We're creating the Aquarian age. And we read about the Aquarian age and what we thought it ought to be. But when you take that and you put it into action here, it ain't quite what we thought it ought to be. And we're creating the real Aquarian age, not the intellectual Aquarian age.
And that is, when you look at the whole zodiac, that's my reference. The whole zodiac, those things are already framed, but they're dead, empty frames. We have to bring life into them.
That's right.
By our experiences, by our feelings, we bring about the life and make the age what it is.
Yes, that's what it is. And there's not a pre-existent age where that we take those prefab pancakes and make them here. That's not it. That's not it at all. We are creating the actual age. We are bringing in all the form, all the enhancement, everything that the Aquarian age was, all the materials were written about over here. We're mixing it all up right here, and we're making the Aquarian age. The Aquarian age was not in existence before here and now. It was just a framework.
Just a framework.
And that would be the same for every age.
And for the zodiac, overall, for the zodiac and how it affects us individually and collectively, it's the same thing.
Yes, that's right. So when it comes to knowledge, there isn't any right or wrong, just simply aware or unaware.
I tried to simplify it as best I could, and that's what I kind of figured out the way to do it where people could catch it easily.
Yes.
You know, it's not a matter of right and wrong, it's just a matter of you're aware or you're unaware. It's just, there's no right and wrong or good or bad. It's just you're either one
Right.
or you're the other, or you're in transition from one to the other.
Yeah. Jesus came in the age, and he began to try to transform people's thinking. And he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He said, I am the bread of life. Those meal cakes that you're eating, that's me. I am the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. Those lambs that you're putting over there on the altar, it's me now. He was trying to get them out of that, but they were so looking at the framework of the law, the four-footed beasts, the meals and everything else, all the hard work they put into it, all the life that they gave, all the blood that they spilled. Those things looked more real than Jesus. Jesus didn't look like the real thing. And that's what people do a lot of times, is they'll look at the intellectual ideas that were written down about Aquarian or Capricorn or whatever. They'll look at the philosophers' thoughts on it. They'll look at all these different things, the prophets and what they wrote about it, and all the books and all the psychologists and all of the astrologers, and they say, this is what Aquarius is supposed to be. And then here sits Aquarius right in front of them.
And they can't see it.
And they can't see it.
Can't see it.
Who are those guys? What are they doing? Bunch of fools. And it's Aquarius forming itself right in front of them. Louis Villamore, Joe Gomez, Richie Love, Herbert Nwarkpour, Vincent Dorku. I could just go on and on and on. It's Aquarius forming all over the world, all around them. It's the real Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a star stuck in the tail of Pegasus. It's not a swan flying through the air somewhere. This is Aquarius.
Right here, right now.
We're sitting here at the table. You're sitting there at your table or wherever you're at. This is the Aquarius unfolding itself right now. Forget about the Pegasus. Those are all symbols. Forget about the swans. Forget about the just that's all fine and dandy. But we are changing the stars. Here sits Pegasus. Here sits the great swan. Here sits the quick return. Here sits all those things right down here happening all around us.
That's right. It's good. Yeah.
We are making and forming and creating the age. And we've done it in every age. I think I understand. First, let me say this has been wonderful. This is the fellowship I've been praying will happen during the live stream, with many jumping in, adding their thoughts, which live stream meaning what we're doing here. I've been praying this will happen during the live stream, jumping in, adding their thoughts, coming to an answer for your day, for your moment. Just wonderful expressions, no absolutes. Because you see a 9 and I see a 6. And that's what I talked about. If you're standing at the top side of a 9 looking at it, it looks like a 6. If you're standing at the bottom side looking at it, it looks like a 9. And then Brother Allen says Don's autism sees it as a 9-6. And he says, just joking, but see, he had a little discernment there. Because as I came through school, they were testing me for that, autism, which I overcome. And sometimes I'm still not able, that's where a lot of my, like, I'm up all night and I'm this and I'm that. So I thought, wow, Alan's got some good discernment.
I see autism as the next stage of evolution. But that's my personal opinion.
So, this is what Fridays in Fellowship are all about. Please understand that. Maybe we'll just stop there. There's a few other things that we can start off on Sunday morning and kind of go from there. Unless you want to go on, it's 2 more pages, I think.
Totally up to you.
But we want you to understand that you can talk to us. You can write things in. You can put it in the, when I make an announcement, just put it inside the comments and say, we'd love to see this discussed. Here's my thinking on it, or whatever. Just feel free to do it.
And understand how important this is. A lot of this conversation, there was a few people involved, but a lot of this conversation just happened to take place between me and Alan. But notice what Alan said a few minutes ago. As he's thinking his way through this stuff, putting this down, simply by me making a statement, it opened up a whole new view to him, and now he saw even further into something. So if you say, well, gosh, look at all these things these guys are writing, I don't know if I... Don't worry about where your point of view is from. Just give it. Put your point of view out there. There's no wrong, there's no right, there's no ahead, there's no behind. It's just your point of view. And if you'll state that and absorb others, that's where you'll progress from that. Don't be afraid to say it. Even if it sounds to you even out of context, you got to start somewhere. Just step right out there and don't worry about what the other people think or say. You have to be brave enough to step out there and express yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to be connected.
And if you do that, just step out there and be brave enough to do it, everyone that is kind of ahead of that point of view will jump in there with you and say, absolutely, that's the truth, because we know it's the truth of where you're at.
You've been there.
We've been there, and we're not gonna fuss with you and fight with you. We're going to hopefully help you travel the road. And for those that have not been to your point of view yet, and from where you're standing, they're all going to have a little trouble because they haven't been here. That's the trouble we're having with so many in the messages and everything else. We don't see that point of view. I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to fuss with them. I'm going to do exactly what Paul said to do. I'm going to agree with my adversary quickly. I understand you. Hopefully you'll see it someday. Because I know in my heart they will. It might not even be in this life, but Paul said if in this life is the only place we have hope, we are all men most miserable. I believe the entire creation will come to understanding of what it needs to understand.
It has to, because the entire civilization, the entire humanity is part of the Spirit. And there's no way that the Spirit is ever going to reach a point where it says, I'm there, but I'm incomplete. It can't happen.
Can't happen. So we're talking on looking from different points of view. And so Don will take with him the knowns of his experiences. You and I will never know that known that Don knew. Only by me expressing it and telling you what it is. Then he will see things as in a view of the completion of an experience of their life. Those that are waiting to come here and experience what they know, per se, can only see things from their perspective of their known. They're looking, waiting to come, looking over that banister, so to speak, and they're in the book of Revelations crying out, how long, O Lord, how long, O Lord? We want to go and express ourselves in that dimension. We want to find out who we are. We want to see how we'll react to all that. And they're screaming, oh Lord, how long? And then when they get there, they're screaming, oh Lord, how long? How long do I have to stay in this home? But so the oh Lord, how long comes from a couple of different dimensions. So we see it, and we're gaining new experiences and feelings of our knowledge. The knowledge is the experience of the know. The I is the know. The am is the knowledge. There are no confines to the knowledge the collective know possesses. No limits to the numerous feeling that the knowledge experiences. Each of us are an individual expression of the know. The know, K-N-O-W, is not limited except in the why. So we have to build into that. It has no limits of being what it is, but the know has an eternal yearning and desire to know and to come and to understand the why. And that's what's happening. So why? The I will always desire the why. Therefore, you cannot add to the I, but you will always add to the am. The why always has a desire to know more, but the am is the one that connects and picks up that desire. So we see this. The I is the spirit with all its knowledge. The am is the development of the spirit's nature, expressed through the lives of individuals. This is how the spirit evolves. It evolves through Patty. It evolves through Connie. It evolves through Don. It evolves through... there's 7.5 billion people on the earth right now, and the spirit is evolving simultaneously at the same time receiving all this knowledge and information and changing it into experience by those in jail, those being electrocuted for criminal activities, those living at the top of the world, those creating geographical areas, those starving to death in Somalia, those that are throwing dumpsters of food away a day in the United States. The Spirit is learning from it all, feeling from it all, gaining how it feels to taste water, how it feels to be lied on, how it feels to be guilty, how it feels to be innocent, how it feels to... The Spirit is just gaining it all, just pulling it in, just pulling it in. How it feels to live in the country, how it feels to live in the city, how it feels to live in one room, how it feels to sleep on the street, how it feels... It's just gaining. It's just gaining it all. Why is all these things happening in the earth? Because the Spirit wants to learn.
That's right.
That's what this is about. It's gaining the knowledge. It's gaining the why.
The Spirit asks the question, why?
Yes.
Y-I-M-E-E. Yeah, that's good.
If you don't mind, let me say it this way. I think this was Alan. The I is the Spirit with all its knowledge of the am. The am is the development of the Spirit's nature of the why, expressed through the lives of individuals. This is how the Spirit evolves. The individual expressions of love is the evolution of love.
That's good.
That's what this is about. It's about loving, reaching out, grabbing the why. No matter, sister, if you were out there and you had that baby at 5 months old and it died and it was the little boy that you wanted, it was the Spirit needing to have that understanding and that feeling and that desire. And I'll tell you and every other wife that has experienced anything like that, don't you give up. Keep that desire in you for that little guy or that little girl or whatever you wanted. Keep that desire in you and keep pushing forward and keep doing the things that will give you those desires, because all that's happening is the Spirit is gaining feeling from all of that. Your inner gut feeling that laid there and cried and wept, your everything that's went on in you in every way in your life, the Spirit is gaining all the time. All the time.
So this brings us back around to one thing as we close. Is there really amnesia? No.
You opened up a whole new door.
I know. Well,
You did that on purpose.
I'm trying to prompt for another conversation, so, you know. This just opens the door and leads right into that, so I thought I'd throw it out
Yes.
there.
Amnesia, for the age that we used it,
Was good.
Was the best the best excuse that we could find. But there are no excuses now.
No.
Accountability is here.
Yes.
And we are accountable and understanding enough to realize it wasn't amnesia at all. It's a matter of moving, building, putting on bone and sinew and flesh and spirit into our knowledge.
Yes.
Building the zodiac,
Yes.
building the universe, building the family, building our inner selves. That's what it's all about. It's not amnesia. It's reaching out and learning new things every day.
It's taking a house and making it a home.
Yes.
And then you take enough houses and you make enough homes and you have a neighborhood. And then you have a community, then you have a city. Next thing you know, you got a whole world populated with homes.
That's right. If you think it, William Branham said in the third Exodus, he was talking about Luther. And he said, and he was preaching, he said, Luther brought justification into the earth. And the bride is coming out under justification right now. Oh, nobody noticed that he said such a thing. And I'm sitting there, and I paid from a little boy close attention to everything that man said. I looked at it and said, Brother Branham, you said justification was 400 years ago, and we're just now starting to understand it. I thought, how many generations until we understand love divine?
Right.
How many generations until we raise up in a way that there's no more war, there's no more battles, the playing field is level. But we start right here. We are the Luthers who are bringing out love divine. And if it's 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, 1,000 years, I don't care. We threw the pebble into the pond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to the collective spirit across the earth where he takes it to and what happens. He is a Holy Spirit. It is a holy thing moving throughout the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about.
William Branham said in his time it was the end of the struggling nature. So how much further along are we?
Yes.
Think about that.
Yes.
If the struggling nature of humanity ended then where ought we to be? Beyond struggling, that's for sure.
Okay.
It's okay. Huh?
He says low, but.
Low battery
Low
is what
battery.
it says,
Okay.
yeah.
Good timing.
Running out of coffee too.
If you want to play a little something, or it's up to you.
Nah, let's just pray and
Okay.
our battery kicks off.
I'm gonna hit this just so it don't finally freeze itself. So let's just let's hold hands here, join our energies together, and trust for our healing here at this table. Trust for the things that each one of us need here in this local area, and for those that are reaching in. Lord, Spirit, move through us, move through all of us, and those things that we need, we declare them to be healing, finances, spiritual openings, understanding, all of these things in all of the different areas. Be with us, pull us together, unite us like never before. We declare these things to be in the Spirit of Christ.
God bless.
Yes.